Okay.
You can explain our new system too, since they're here.
Oh, okay.
Going?
Thank you.
Told them that whatever they say can be picked up in the
Yeah.
microphone.
Now we're good?
We're good.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Welcome. We're glad you're joining us tonight. Today is Tuesday, September 6th, 2022. It's just 6:32, and this is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Marquette Township Board. If you join us, we're going to say the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, roll call, Randy, please.
Okay, Trustee LaRue.
Here.
Trustee Winslow.
Present.
Trustee Everson.
Here.
Trustee Marks.
Person?
Treasurer Johnson.
Here.
Clerk Rattari is here, and Supervisor Durant.
Here.
Staff present is Manager Kangas, our attorney Roger Zappa, and on Zoom, Lenny Bodina, Superintendent of Public Works is here.
Great, thank you. Any public comment about anything in general? Name and address, please, Lynn.
Good evening. Lynn Swadley, 135 Hidden Springs, here in the Marquette Township. I'd like to reserve time to speak at item 8B.
B, okay.
And I suspect most of these folks would like to do the same.
Yeah, it's just a regular item, so we can't do anything different. Anybody else wish to address the board before we start? Okay. All right. We'll just need approval then for the consent agenda unless somebody pulls something out tonight that consists of approval of regular meeting minutes of August 16th, 2022. We have bills payable in the amount of $98,699.45. We do have reports from the Peter White Public Library Board Work Session of July 27th and regular board meeting minutes of Tuesday, August 9th. We have the Sheriff Department activity report. We noticed these were missing, so our staff went ahead and put all of them in there from March through July. We also have correspondence. I added one more for the spotted lanternfly. We talked about that the last couple meetings. Came in from China, of course. New York has been hit hard. They're probably the worst in the country. And the DEQ and everybody that goes along with them is asking that we watch out for this lanternfly. There's a picture. It won't come out as color in the packet, but it should be online in color to show this. The bug is an inch long and a ½ inch wide. It's ruining everything. It goes after especially not berries, grapes. So I don't know what they're gonna do in Traverse City around that area. Anybody that's growing grapes for wine, it's in Pontiac. It's the first place it's been spotted in the state. So you need to call the DEQ or something, look at the packet online so you can see what the bug looks like and its excrement, and you need to report it, document it, take pictures, date it. They want to know everything so they can come and get it. We also have Semco's asking for a rate increase, of course, so there's a State of Michigan public hearing for case number U21070. And we also have the August financial statement.
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. I'm not aware of any conflicts of interest with this agenda, so I need approval of the remainder. We do want to, go ahead, Randy.
We'll add under 8A, or actually it can be after because the fire chief's not here. We'll add under 8D, consider fire department hire. So that'll be 8D.
Yeah, we can say recommendation, maybe. Okay. And we just need approval of the amended agenda.
I'll move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay. Okay, we don't have any Board of Education or privileged comment tonight. Community linkage, who has something to share? Anybody? Anything you're hearing from the public? Phone calls, emails? Okay, I have a couple things to share. If you remember the conversation that took place here with the candidates for the House of Representatives seat for Sarah Cambenzi, one of the candidates said that the tax tribunal was done and it's not a concern anymore. Well, we know that's not true. So I have mail that came today from our attorney's office, Westwood Mall. And I have another one for AutoZone. So believe me, folks, it is not dead. Just wanted to point that out. Planning Commission has suggested we do our joint meeting October 26th at 6 o'clock. Would you be good enough to check your calendars and see if that works for you? There was a conflict on the first meeting. Let's see here. October.
Works for me, Lynn.
October 26th,
What time?
at 6 o'clock, right before their meeting.
You don't have to do that for my birthday. I mean,
And you bring the champagne.
No, it was scheduled for the 12th.
Right. They have a conflict, yep. That's why I penciled it in.
you also got a Marquette County Township Association meeting.
Yeah, I see that.
Planning Commission meeting.
You want to change it? Yeah, they want to do it before the planning meeting, that's the idea. I can,
How about a Tuesday?
we wanted to do it before their meeting. You want to look at November 9th?
Well, I think the intent was that they wanted to look at the CIP prior to the budget being approved. So if we keep
With us?
moving it, right, so that way the people that present only have to have one night doing that.
Do you need
Yeah.
a joint meeting to, for the
Well-
CIP though?
No, we don't, but
No,
she's
we
saying
don't,
that.
but in an
they wanna-
effort to save time and repetitive information, it seemed like it made sense.
Okay. Yeah, well,
So,
October 26th is already getting late for that discussion.
right. So maybe we need to ask the planning commission if they can have a special meeting to do that.
Yeah,
And the 12th didn't work because of,
I think Eric and Jason were out of town.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's the annual planning meeting that they have to go to because the last couple were
So-
not possible due to COVID.
so there won't be a planning commission meeting that night then. Maybe they can reschedule the planning commission meeting for the first Wednesday in April?
For the 5th, you mean, October 5th?
Let me talk to Jason tomorrow and see, before we do anything else.
Good idea.
We can firm that up next
That's
meeting.
the-
We've got a little.
Now we know why these meetings don't happen.
There goes my birthday.
You're gonna have to celebrate alone, Pete.
The Business Association meeting is in November too, then. Remind me on
Yes,
that.
that's a noon one. You should have that in your calendars too.
It's November 15th.
Yep. At noon. All right, I'll talk to Jason tomorrow. Good deal. Okay, and I was kind of thinking we were gonna get some information from Jason too on his presentation to the MNRTF board, but we're gonna put that on the next agenda, and maybe he can zoom in or something. So I just wanted to let you know. Okay, if there's nothing else on that, we can go ahead and move to 8A, consider vandal proofing options for warming house at Lions Field. That,
That's Lenny.
Lenny wants to talk about it, okay.
And he raised the,
Hang on, Lenny, we can't hear you, hold on. hang on,
We're good now.
Andy's fixing it.
We're good.
Okay. This was for the board, we went out and we got the different options that what it would take to vandal-proof, the building. So I did send this out, what you have is 3 different options. The biggest, difference in the options is, would be the type of wall covering that you want on the walls. Option 1 was, had like a diamond plate 4x8 sheets. Option 2 was kind of like a rolled steel type of covering. And option 3 was kind of like a hardboard, type of covering on the walls. All the options actually had, steel doors installed. They also had kind of like stainless steel toilets, almost kind of like a prison toilet, and stainless steel, sinks, so those they would be vandal as well. So basically, the biggest difference between all these is the type of wall covering that we would put on there. These prices do not include labor, however, so we would have to kind of guess on what labor would cost. We know that we would need some plumbing redone, especially for the toilets and the sink. Some of the stuff we can do in-house. Andy's pretty good at some of that stuff, and he would be willing to do some of that, like the wall board and the doors and stuff too. So, so these are the options in front of you. All will work, some better than others, and some are more expensive than others. The kind of the hardboard though could still be vandalized. It's hard, but it's not totally hard for something won't go through it. So that's probably your least vandal-proof of the walls, but all of the other 2 are sealed and it would be a lot harder.
Lenny, could you or maybe John give the public a quick update on why we're doing this?
Sure, yeah. So since we have opened up the Marquette back over the last few years here, we've had numerous incidents of vandalism. We had one incident where the sink was ripped off the wall. We've had a few different times where holes have been put into the walls. The toilet was actually broke one time. A lot of just banging and hitting holes into the walls. It's just lots of things, a lot of like fighting and stuff. So we're just trying to find out that would lessen this happening, and because every time we got to go repair it, it's costing a lot of money.
Thanks for that. We're using new technology so that we can live stream. So be patient with us and Randy and John with trying to balance it out, please. John, did you want to add anything?
Not without getting into specifics that we shouldn't talk about in a public meeting.
Right, okay. Pete?
I'm not in favor of this. First of all, we take a lot of pride in what we've done over there, and it's not a jail. I can't see, I've looked around and what other people are doing, and I don't think we should have stainless steel toilets. And I talked to a couple ladies over there today, and I asked if she ever used one. They said, oh, we don't like them. And I just don't think, I think if we had more cameras and make it more public to know about it, we don't have to put iron screed. It's not a jail. It's someplace that's kind of nice and for the purpose of the kids and the adults who take their kids there to use the bathroom, the restroom, and winter time it's for the hockey. And I'm just not in favor of this. I just can't see it at all. I can't see wasting money on it, something like that. Yeah, sometimes you might get something, but that's the chances you take with having something out in the public. But I'd be in favor of not doing it. Leave it like it is, put some more cameras in there, or do what we have to do that way. And get some ideas from different people, but I can't see putting wire mesh on the windows and all this other stuff and grate the floor and the walls and that. It just, I would not be in favor of that. I can't see ruining something that's very nice right now. And no matter what you have, you're always gonna have, someone's gonna break something or something like that, but the first time when that person put his fist through the wall, I was hoping he would've hit a stud, but he didn't. So he just got in between, I put the patch on it, sanded it, my wife painted it, and you can't even tell where it was, so. Yeah, it was kind of, made me mad when I was doing it and that, but that's not making all the people suffer because of a couple idiots.
I wouldn't call using Stainless steel toilets.
Well, they do dumb things at dumb times, so,
Okay,
you know,
John?
but I'm not in favor of it. I think we should leave it alone the way it is. Check our cameras and make sure if we have to add more to it or whatever, but the people who are there, they don't even know it's happening. So we're not doing a good enough job to tell the people who are using it to watch out for it. We don't ask the Doherty's across the street, we don't ask Umbrellas, tell them about it. So, I mean, if they're aware of it, and they can watch out for it, they will, you know, be all right until whoever's doing it grows up a little bit.
Well, it's not just kids, it's adults too. And who do you
Well,
see
then we should add-
monitoring the cameras all day long?
You can't.
Well, we have to monitor, if you have cameras, you have to monitor them.
Yeah, who's gonna do that?
Why have cameras if you're not gonna monitor them?
Well, you're
If you
suggesting
have a
it.
problem, then that's when you go back to the cameras. You don't have to have somebody watching the cameras, you know, 24 hours a day.
No, but then we've had cases where we know who's doing the damage, and it's still costing us. This is not just one occasion, this has been happening for years.
Just if somebody broke something in your house or something like that, or somebody did some of your damage to your property, what would you do? You call their
You let 'em
parents, have them
back.
pay for it and fix it.
We can't do that, we're public.
You can have people come and you can have parents responsible for their kids.
And some will and some won't,
Well, then there's no steps you can take.
sometimes.
Well, you know there is.
John wants to comment. There's some things we can't comment in public about.
There's a lot to unpackage here, and I don't necessarily disagree with what Trustee LaRue is saying. Doing nothing is actually the easiest solution for us because staff can continue what they normally do, their normal jobs, right? And we're saving the taxpayers $20,000 to $30,000 in the process until it happens again. We don't need more cameras. The cameras have helped us figure out who the culprits are every time it's happened. We can't put more cameras in there because you can't put them in bathrooms. We have them in the locker room area, and that usually tells us who's going in and out at the time when it happened. So we can identify them and usually get, we've had one person get a no trespass order. The most recent incident, we had at least 3 of the 4 involved participate somehow, whether it was through an apology letter or actually going over there and helping sand and paint afterwards. But as long as it's drywall and not cinder block or something a lot harder than drywall, there will be more holes in there to fix in the future. We came back with this information because you asked us to. So it's up to you to decide where we go next. You have 3 options to consider. Maybe you have some other suggestions that we can look at. These are the most affordable we could come up with because the fixtures themselves are the most easy to damage. Sinks, all it takes is somebody sitting on it. Unless it's really permanently anchored to something strong, it's gonna come off the wall because it's not structural. Toilets can be the same thing, right? Which is why you need something that's a little bit beefier. You could still put a nice seat on it, but they could rip that off too. So it's all a matter of what you want, and I can tell you any modern public restroom facility that gets built is being built to vandal-proof standards. This one was not. It was built nice, but it's not vandal-proof. So you have to weigh what's more important.
Do we know roughly what we've spent to repair it? I mean, in most cases, staff is doing it because, so we, you know, that's part of their day, but it takes them away from something else. But any rough idea?
Well, I think the
Lenny
first 1 or 2 times happened before my time here. The one that happened this summer, obviously, it was mostly labor cost. Some of it being in the form of restitution from 2 of the folks that admitted to being involved in it. Did we quantify it? No. Could we estimate the 3 times that happened might be in the $5,000 to $10,000 range? Probably. So how many times before you get to the estimates we're looking at here, just for materials? So.
Linda, did you have anything?
So I just have one comment, Lenny. It is correct that there are stainless steel toilets and sinks by the ballpark, correct?
Yes, and those are the type of, yeah, the stainless steel bolts.
Yeah, and maybe we shouldn't call them prison-type things or jail-type things. They're really just stainless steel because people have a different pictures. So, you know, the intent is to reduce our money being spent on repairs. And there is money every time our staff goes there, and we tend to not always count that, but there is. And I'm in support of making it look nice. And I know that some of the stainless steel wall covering is very nice. So I want it to stay open. So whatever we have to do to keep it open for those people who are at the park with their 3-year-old who's just getting potty trained. Okay? Yeah. And I don't like the porta-johns for the 3-year-old or for the 50-year-old.
Okay, Pete, go ahead again.
And I was gonna add one more thing too, is even with the, like John was kind of alluding to, that the cameras have helped multiple times identify who's doing this damage. And there was a couple times we told, we want to press charges, and wherever it goes from there, nothing ever came of it. So, unfortunately, that is kind of something else that's happening to us too, is we're finding out who's doing the damage. We know who's doing the damage. We can see them, and then once we want to, keep moving forward with the process, it just nothing happens with it. So, that's something else that we're running into, is even with all the cameras and we're monitoring and stuff, even if we know who's doing it, nothing happens.
The courts are too busy for vandalism, unfortunately. They have a 2-year backlog.
Okay, so our recommendation,
Lynn, can I just make one
sure,
comment?
go ahead.
John said that the easiest way would be to do nothing for our employees, but you can't just do nothing. It'll never be the same. Our employees should be looking at that all the time and what they do. So it'll never be the same. We have to keep our eyes open all the time. When you go down that street, you look over there. We have to notify the neighbors around, just tell them that we're having a problem. And tell them to keep your eyes open, let us know if there is, have someone to call. So that's the way I think it's.
Okay. Anything else?
Maybe we should put up a sign inside the restroom that say the alternative is an outhouse.
If you can say that in 6 or less words, it might actually be effective, because any more than that, nobody will read it. But I like the idea.
Ernie, go ahead.
Okay, listen to everyone here. If we don't do anything, it's gonna happen again. There's no question about that. Different people, different time frame and that. What the cost is gonna be, we don't know in that. I have no problem with stainless steel toilets, stainless steel sinks, or anything else in there. They're there to use the facility overall, and this is what's available to them. They don't have to use it, they can go home, and that, this is what's here, and that. I'm looking in the long run with the dollars of the township. We do nothing, we're gonna come back in 6 months and have to do something again, and it's gonna cost us another X number of dollars if we don't identify who it is. I don't like to spend the money either, but I don't have any alternative to protect that. The cameras tell us certain things, but it doesn't stop them. And Pete's idea of the neighbors, that's great, but the neighbors can't see what's going on inside the building, and that have no idea what's going on in there. They may see a lot of people, but you have no idea. And if the neighbors get involved with it, what kind of liability is for those neighbors? And then at that point in time.
Yeah.
And that's another question you have to be concerned with in that too. The courts are great at liabilities, so I'm a little concerned with that. So we can have our staff look there continual, but they're not gonna be there when it happens, because the people are gonna see there's no one around, they're gonna do something on that.
Somebody was cutting the grass the last time it happened, so staff was there.
But they can't see it from inside.
Right.
That, if there's no noise, no activities, they've got a job to do. They're cutting the grass, they're out there doing something that, they're not in watching what's happening in the actually warming house or the restrooms at all.
That's all I have.
So would we want to, you had your hand up too, Randy. Would we want to wait on this and get a total of what we've spent already? Would that make a difference to anybody?
I'm not sure we have adequate records for that, going back several years.
Okay. Randy?
Yeah, I agree with Treasurer Johnson. If we do nothing, this is gonna happen again. And during the day, this happened during the day, the last time. So it's unfortunate. Yeah, our staff was cutting the grass in the field and the holes got punched in the wall, the sink and the toilet got damaged, and the mirror got ripped off the wall during the day. And I know at the pavilion, which we have metal fixtures there, I don't think we've ever had much vandalism there with those fixtures, ever, in the 20 years I've been here. So I think, and like I said before, if you make it hard for people to vandalize, they usually don't do it because it takes effort. And that's the main thing. You gotta really pound hard to dent a steel toilet, so. So I'm in favor of this. I think if we don't do anything, it's gonna happen again. It's gonna cost more money. We're moving into the season, once the ice goes in towards the end of the year here. If we have a cold winter, the facility is gonna be used a lot. If we do nothing, this is actually probably a decent time to put it in because you're gonna have some downtime before the ice rink gets used. So I'm in support of this, and I'll move to proceed with option 2 for $27,184.59. And it's
Support.
coming from the recreation millage revenues, so.
Support.
And this does not cover labor.
It's the,
Well, it looks like it does cover labor on the toilet.
It's estimated anyway.
And then they'll be ADA
The
compliant.
27,000 does not include the labor. Specifically, we would probably need to have a pump that, to do the sinks in the toilet.
We'd need what?
Plumber.
In-house.
Okay, Dan, yes.
I'm just gonna say, it's unfortunate that this is the world that we live in, and there's a bunch of idiots out there that can't keep their hands to themselves and they have to vandalize things. I can see where Pete is coming from. It's nice to have it in like a home atmosphere rather than I'll call it a jail atmosphere, but, I don't know what else we can do. We're just gonna have to spend the money and get it done.
If I may, one last thing.
Sure.
This does include going to proper doors as well. The last time one of the doors was kicked in, if we had steel doors and frames, that wouldn't happen. It would actually, the person would regret it.
And I think it came off the hinge. That was the first time since I've been here, I think, and then it knocked the doorknob into the wall, put a hole in the wall.
Correct. Yep. That was the smaller of the two holes.
Pete?
Lynn and talk about the grounds crew were there cutting grass. Maybe we should have a change it that if they're working over there, before they leave, check both bathrooms. You know, and then you could go back and look at your film and see who's coming and who's going.
Can I just remind everyone, we received a complaint that the facility was locked up. We opened it and this happened within 24 hours. That's how quick it happened.
I'm just saying, when they're there
It
working.
had been locked all summer. We unlocked it for less than 24 hours and it was vandalized. That was why we didn't want to open it in the first place, so.
Figure a way how to open it, but we have to keep it open because that's the reason we did everything. So, you know, if you're gonna have it, if not, tear it down, put something else up there. You know.
Okay, we've got a motion and a support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, consider support of Forestville Connector Road. Lynn, did you want to talk first, or do you want to hear? Okay.
Good evening again, Lynn Swadley, 135 Hidden Springs in Marquette. First of all, let me say I'm not opposed to Long Air subdivision in our area. I'm a real estate developer and builder, and and I've developed many of the area's finest neighborhoods over the years. I developed Huron Woods and built most of the homes there, and we've lived there for over 22 years now. So, however, we are opposed to the Township Board supporting the County Road Commission's preliminary concept of a new connector road as shown along the power lines and on our property in Huron Woods. This proposed route would actually run on ours and the neighbor's property. The high transmission lines, you guys all have this, I'm sure. The high transmission lines are actually a utility easement for the American Transmission Company on our property. And the adjacent properties to the west, on our neighbors in Huron Woods, and Mr. Pestle is to the south. They do not own the land. We all do, and that easement was granted specifically to that utility company, and it's not dedicated for a public road right-of-way. See that curve on the road to the east, how that kind of goes to the east? All right. That goes right close to our home, well into our property, to avoid the very steep slope to the west down to the river valley. It's a very steep slope, probably drops a few hundred feet down.
Thanks,
There you
Randy.
go. You know, the big piece right there is ours where it comes into our edge. In that, it looks like it's just coming to our property line, but in reality, the cleared area, the property lines are out in that. The transmission line, like I said, sits on an easement on all those properties. Just for clarification, I hope you don't cut me off
If
here.
you want to walk over there, you
Yeah,
can.
I'm good.
Because the microphone will hear you.
Well, the east-west is actually owned by ATC, but the north-south is owned by all of us, and it's an easement on the property. So, point of clarification there. And I can't speak for anyone else here, but Chris and I will most assuredly fight any attempt to take and use our property for this. We consider that a taking. And this concept will have very negative effects on our property values with a major road next to us. This would, in effect, take most of the current and future traffic currently using Forestville Road and put it right on the west side of our homes. And so we ask that the Township Board here tonight strongly decline to support this proposed concept to the Road Commission, and furthermore request that both the Road Commission and Longyear begin to study an eastern entrance out of their proposed subdivision that is in or near the city limits to have a new road come out on Wright Street there for the roundabout. The elevation and grades look good there. I'm wondering why that hasn't been studied. It's well off that map, so. Yes.
It's actually there.
Oh, yeah, I guess the corner is, yeah. So, I don't have long years, but that's their development with Wright Street coming up, this area here, before that goes down that curve of that hill, there's a possible location for, the County Road Commission wants a roundabout. There's a great intersection, I believe. I've looked at that, the grades look good for if they're looking for, to alleviate additional traffic coming out of the rest of the phases of that development, there's a solution potentially. So I'm just wondering why that hasn't been studied. Longyear has to run a sewer main up the east side of Forestville Road for their connection to the township sewer. So I'm going to ask you to please require them to pay for the upgrade of Forestville Road as a condition of their PUD approval when that comes before you. I happen to know that area pretty well. I paid to run a water main on the west side of Forestville Road when we developed Huron Woods. There's not a lot of room on that southern section there from about the entrance of Huron Woods to the intersection at Wright Street. It's very narrow. You've got a creek valley in there, and it has to basically run in the eastern lane of the road, necessitating that to be dug up and replaced. So I'm asking you to make that a condition of your PUD approval. Tear it up, you got to replace it. Shouldn't be the township and the taxpayers' expense. We also ask that you not support the County Road Commission's eventual plan to close off Forestville Road when all of this would be done and convert it to a cul-de-sac. If safety is a concern about the Forestville Wright Street intersection and the lack of good vertical curve alignment for roundabout there, let's request to put a stoplight there. I know that don't want to impede the flow of traffic, I get that, but there's lights on that route. And sometimes safety has to take a priority over traffic flow. That would be, I think, a simple solution. And now I understand that comments have been made that this planned road has been in the township master plan. And I can tell you that this concept first came about, I remember this, when Rio Tinto was looking for alternatives to their truck hauling route when the city of Marquette told them, we're not going to allow your trucks to come through the city. You guys probably remember that as well. Now, I saw this concept for the first time when the Road Commission had created a few different options for an alternative route bypassing the city. Rio Tinto was on a timeline, and they put some of those together. Their very first rough drawing actually showed that proposed road going east quite a bit more, right through our house, actually. I raised hell about it with both Randy and Gerard and the Road Commission. Jim Owaneke reassured me that these are just some quick concepts they drew up for Rio Tinto and the township, and not to worry about it because it looks like the city and Rio Tinto will be making a deal. Well, we all know that they did. Rio Tinto paid the city millions of dollars to upgrade 550 and Wright Street within the city limits. And so if these early concepts made it into the township master plan, well, when that was done, without any comprehensive engineering study, any public review or consultation. So that's my feeling on that matter right there. I saw them very early on. They were modified to look kind of like this after I commented they had it going through my house. But so now earlier this summer, the County Road Commission had planned to release a request for proposals from the engineering firms to do a comprehensive study on future road options and connections across northern Marquette Township. This is their RFP draft. According to Mr. Iwaniki, and I exchanged emails with him here a week or so ago, their board has decided not to go through with that, and now all of a sudden this concept's on the table from them requesting you folks' support. So what's the urgency, and why has there not been a broad study for everyone involved to participate in and review? You should be aware also that there's no urgency in this. I know that Longyear hasn't submitted a PUD proposal. I'm sure they're working on it. It's going to come before your planning commission for too long. But the reality is that it'll take many years for Longyear to develop and sell 200 lots, I think that was what it was, and for those homes to get built on and the traffic therefore. I track building permits and housing starts in the county as professionally, and using the county's historical annual permit numbers, the facts are that for the last 13 years, the total number of new home permits in the county averages between 76 and 135 homes, total. Marquette Township gets 5, 10, 11% of that. That's the demand in this little housing market we have. I just finished Harlow Farms master plan conservation community in Marquette. We had 84 residential lots in there. It's taken 17 years to sell those. 17 years. And I mean, it's beautiful and I'm pretty good at it. And it's taken 17 years because it's a small population, small market. You know, regardless of what all you see, that's kind of the reality of our population and the actual housing demand and permits. Yeah, 76 to 135. So I would say it's unrealistic for anyone to say that there's all this demand coming soon and that all this traffic is coming soon and you need to make these drastic road changes quickly and go with the County Road Commission's plans. So unless it's the Road Commission's plan to make a truck bypass route, okay, with a connection to 41 at Myers, all right, the small connector down there. Now that they own the Ash Hall paved road out to 550, with a few more connections out that way, it would in effect eventually drive all logging and mining trucks down this proposed route to avoid driving through the city. Of course, this makes matters worse, you know, what if this goes through. So finally, I appreciate your indulgence. I know I'm over my 3 minutes. Finally, why does Longyear Corporation and the property owners to the south, the Pie and the Sky Corp, get their property values greatly enhanced at the cost of ours being devalued? You know, we are your residents, in the township. And I believe you folks need to consider and represent our rights to a quiet and safe enjoyment of our homes and our property. You know, please make the right decision and send the road commission a strong message of non-support and force them to look at these other alternatives and suggestions. To keep my comments brief, because I wrote a little more
Can we have a
expansive
copy?
letter here.
Can we have that? That'd be great. Thanks, Lynn, appreciate it. Yeah, I don't know why not. John, maybe you are, there's more information than Lynn has. Do you want to comment on that, and maybe even Roger?
I don't know how much more information there is, other than what the road commission has told me since we heard that Longyear was proposing this PUD development. And that is, they've looked at the alternative of providing a new access to the east and have told me that it's not feasible. I can't give you any more than that information because that's all they told me. The idea of a roundabout at Forestville, Commerce, and County Road 492 is my preferred option. I'd love to see one there. What they tell me is the vertical alignment of the four legs at that intersection does not work for truck traffic in the winter.
I understand that.
Same thing for a traffic light. In fact, I would prefer not to see the traffic light because that requires trucks to come to a complete stop, whereas a roundabout doesn't necessarily, unless there's already traffic in the roundabout approaching the leg of the roundabout that they're in. And I'll tell you straight out, I have no shame in saying this. I'm a huge fan of roundabouts. The fact that they're proposing one at the new intersection gives me great hope that it was thought out a little bit more than just a line on the paper going through your house, right? That being said, the reason why this item is on the agenda tonight is specifically because of the concerns that you just raised, that some of your neighbors have raised individually to me prior to this meeting when they heard that this was a possibility. And I want the board to make an informed decision because it would require staff to make our decisions moving forward, different or not, based on what they decide is important for the township. So that's why we're here tonight, and it's why most of you are here tonight, because the first person that raised the concern to me asked that I keep him informed, so I did, and I'm sure he shared his concerns with you, and you're all here. So I appreciate you coming, because the board doesn't know how you feel without you telling them. And we don't have the resources to knock door to door every time something like this comes up.
Well, we
So
appreciate you letting us know. We wouldn't have known about this if you hadn't reached out, obviously. And their RFPs got all kinds of other concepts besides this one. And I just wonder why we don't pause with everything I've stated, and you guys recommended the road commission to do that comprehensive study, explore all the possible options of not just Longyear's property or Pie and Sky, who would love to have somebody, the taxpayers pay, put a road in through their property, and explore the traffic and future needs of all of northern Marquette Township. It's a bigger picture here. There's more to the story, I believe, too, so appreciate your time.
Roger, did you want to add anything? You've been, involved a little bit.
Well, I don't know that I have any
Okay.
direct input regarding the road. The involvement that I've been spending a fair amount of time on is there's a joint 425 agreement in the works between the city and and Marquette Township that would involve a transfer of land from the city to the township, if that's approved by both bodies. That is basically a complete agreement that needs a little bit of fine tuning and should be in a draft form by tomorrow afternoon. But that's a different issue than the road issue on how do we get there.
Part of the project, though, too.
if I may,
Yeah.
just reiterate what Mr. Swadley stated. The road commission pulled this out of our transportation master plan. He stated the reason why it got there, but that's where it is, that's where they got it from. Does the township still support what's in its master plan? That's really what it comes down to.
Anything else? Ernie, you said you had questions?
I have a question. You're talking about the right-of-way. The power lines that your residents gave an easement for? That's where the line is, approximately where the line is at? Is that
Yeah,
is that
you
my
can't,
understanding?
you can't look at the parcel lines specifically because they aren't truly corrected to geospatial coordinates. And they also do not show overlying easements. So it's approximately correct on that aerial imagery, yes.
That's what I was concerned with. If the easement is set up from the residents for anyone to come in and do any kind of development there, it's gonna cause other legal things. Would be my understanding that, because you're overlying the easements that was given, depending on how they were written at the time of that too, so.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that easement was specifically for the overhead utility lines.
That's correct. Bob Brebner gave that to the ATC many years ago before we bought the property from Bob Brebner. And Mr. Durant, I think a lot of these people would just like a moment, you know, they thought they'd get a chance at this time.
Yeah, we're a little more relaxed than in the city. We don't-
Appreciate that.
We don't go on that.
Very refreshing.
If somebody else wants to speak, that's fine. It's all good information.
Just have your name and
Yeah,
address.
David Pesla, I own the 135 where that pond is there, that property there. I've been at this meeting 20 years ago before they changed Wright Street there, where they did, and I was in opposition to that. And my thought was that the road never should have gone through my property here, because they threatened the eminent domain, so they took my property here, and my property was here. I changed the road here, and everybody who drives down this knows how dangerous the curve is. I own this property here, the buffer, and I've had to replace the mailbox every year for a car goes in the ditch here. This is a terrible curve. My mother has been in an accident right here, almost killed her. Right here, there's accidents continuously here because kids hit it's just too fast curve. It's a terrible intersection. I was on record 20 years ago suggesting the road should have been straight here, and I think personally, my opinion is that because of Walmart not wanting it there, big business took over, and that's why the road got put here. That's my own opinion 20 years ago. I was again at this meeting saying the same thing I'm saying today. It's been a problem. I've been encroached upon on my property. If I get out of my house, I look out of my garage, all I see is bright lights from the theater. It's just massive lights. I look to the right, and all I see is a Meijer store. I look down, all I see is mud in my pond from, I shouldn't name the contractor, but you know where it is. I have been very, very tolerant to not sue. I've felt like suing 1,000 times. It's very upsetting to me. And when I see this happening now, I see that's just a rough estimate. You know, I think there should be a master plan too, a big study of what is needed for the road from Big Bay to back past the city that would cut the traffic down, not one subdivision. Second thing about the subdivision is it's 177 acres, right, 220 homes. It's a city. It's not a development. What he's proposing, from what I've heard, is 220 homes in 177 acres. Now you might as well make this part of the city if you're going to have that dense population in our township. Our township is a beautiful township with beautiful lots, beautiful homes. We built these homes for a reason to have, and then beyond us, you're going to have traffic like a city. I don't agree with a subdivision like that, kind of a subdivision beyond us. I mean, I think there should be a little bit of a concept here, a plan. If the road's got to be there and it's the best thing for the Rio Tinto, I guess I'll have to accept it. But I tell you, I've been encroached upon. I've been very tolerant for 20 years. I spent over $2,500 on a video of the pollution going in my pond from this developer here, and if you saw it, I can't believe you guys don't know what's happening. But you know, it's just there's been some problems with the development that's occurred here. So I'm totally against this road behind us. I think there should be a long-term study, and I don't think you should bow down to one big developer like Walmart or Longyear or whatever and let them just ramrod what they want through here and do what they want. That's just my opinion. I think you work for us. You know, you're our representative to the township, and I think that everybody in the subdivision is gonna say the same thing I am, that they do not want to be encroached upon severely by one developer's thought process, so that's all I can say.
Anybody else?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Stephen Sanderson, 350 Brickyard Road. And I just want to agree with everything that Amanda said. This is ridiculous. This was like number 5 or 6 on the list back during the road commission thing, and it was really not even considered. And all of a sudden now it's being rammed down our throat. Number 2, I agree with everything David said. I was with him 20 years ago fighting this crap, and it's, I mean, you talk about encroachment. I am probably the single most encroached on because I own the whole piece of property down that property line. And on top of all that, I have never once been notified. Thank God I have good neighbors that said, hey, do you know what's going on? Do you know they're proposing to run a line right down the power line there, a road down the power line? And as Lynn said, they have no power to do that. The easement was the power company's. We own that property. So unless you guys want a real heavy fight, you're gonna get it. And I just want to be very clear about that. You know, and I know Dave's there. We're sick of it. I mean, Myers is literally in my front door. You want to talk about light pollution, noise pollution? I deal with this every day. When I bought that house in '99, I was in the woods. You know, and I bought it for that reason, because it was nature. I have a creek in my backyard. My kids can fish. I can hunt right there. I got more trespassers, and I got people living on my property. 3 as of in the last few months, and it's ridiculous what's happened to our township. And well, let's be honest with you, I'm really getting frustrated with it. So please, take that as a big fat no from me, and know that I'm pretty sure everybody else feels the same way. You better think long and hard about what's going on here, because it hasn't been well thought through. Thank you.
Thank you.
10 seconds.
Okay.
Also, you know, I talk about pollution. I have light pollution, water pollution, noise pollution from the highway, and now I'm talking about marijuana pollution. I really, along with the loss of the value of my property next to this, to me, is a negative for any adult person who's not a marijuana user, I guess, maybe, but I'm strongly against this marijuana development. I think you should also consider the property values of the people around you. This is not what I want around me. So I just want to go on record with that statement.
Thank you.
That's a separate issue, maybe.
John?
He's a little crappy.
I just wanted to point out real quick, Mr. Sanderson's property, if you have a second. It's basically the parcels encompassing.
Oh, I own that.
No, here.
I own that.
From here to there. Yeah, okay. Sorry, I had the
So
wrong
the
line.
majority of that is on my property.
Most of the north-south section of that, just so everyone understands.
They were talking about doing that.
One courtesy call for
Not one,
verification.
not a letter,
Never.
So just to maintain order on the subject, I agree. If I was in their position, I would feel upset that there has been no notification yet. But I'm hoping you all understand that we're trying to be as transparent as possible on this. And you have Mr. McBride to thank, because he's the one that came and talked to me. He heard about it, and I don't know how. Maybe it was because I said something to him or his wife, I don't remember. They happen to be friends of mine. I see heads shaking and stuff. I'm trying to be transparent. You have to trust me on that. We are so far away from anything being official on this. We need this board to first tell us as staff where they stand, because we can't act on it without their support. And if they say no tonight, that part is easy. You heard me say it earlier. There's a lot of easy things we can do. We're not here pushing the Staples button every day. We're trying to do what's best for this township from every perspective. Growth can be painful. It can be very beneficial. What's the right balance? Would I love to see a roundabout at Cornerstone, Forestville, and 492? That's my first choice. Can they make it happen? Maybe. Is it cheaper than 14 million? Most likely. but it's not my decision to determine if they can build it or not. I am an engineer, but that's not my role here. My role is to help guide them in making good decisions. So I hope everyone understands that. It's really up to them to discuss it amongst themselves at this point. And I really do appreciate you coming, because if they don't hear from you, the decision becomes a lot easier on the front end and harder on the back end, correct? So that's all I have to say.
John, because you've had some conversations with Iwanaki, the PUD has not come forward yet, and we know
It's
kinda
coming
why you-
very soon.
So when that gets triggered, would that have made the road commission notify I mean, we have to, when we're making these kinds of changes, we go 300 feet out, right, or 300 yards out.
It's 300 feet for the PUD notification, so a lot of these people wouldn't even get it
They still
because they're
wouldn't.
too far away. That's the unfortunate part of the way the ordinance is written. It says 300 feet. It doesn't say 300 feet less the ATC easement in between, because that's the majority of your 300 feet. It's a pretty wide corridor. And as was stated earlier, the east-west portion of ATC's corridor is actually owned by them. The north-south is owned by primarily, I'm sorry, I said Mr., it's Dr. Sanderson, correct? So there's two different issues there. And then what the road commission tells us is what we have to go by regarding the east connection. So I'm not sure there's any more that I can provide tonight that's productive to the conversation that you haven't heard already.
Well, and that's one of the biggest differences, and some of you may know, between a city and the township, is the road commission owns the roads. And I don't know how much control, is that word, we could have influence. That's maybe a legal question or a road commission question, I don't know. And we've kind of made it a point to have at least yearly discussions with that board, just so we can kind of stay on the same page too. But to a point, people own their land, as you do. You want to be able to do what you want to do with it. And they'll come to the planning commission and they'll make sure that same thing with the marijuana property. They'll make sure that the borders are right and the trees are right and the drainage is right, I mean, that's kind of the planning function. And some decisions we can make and be very specific on, and some we can't. It's out of our hands. That's all I wanted to say about that. John?
I think it might be good to take a minute to point out that the Marquette County Road Commission remains our road provider. We really can let them know if we have some concerns, but they're the road provider and they let us know that. This whole project is tied to other plans for the future. And their counter road proposal has, until just recently, the last week or so, has been a Marquette County Road Commission project. They have not invited the township to participate. They have not invited the township or any of its members to make comment. And until they provided us with that that Marquette County map that some of you have had the benefit of obtaining, we did not have a true picture, and even that's not a true picture, of where they plan to route that added road. So all we could do at the time that we were given that is say, we need to have a session. We need to talk to people. And we need to put it on paper in such a way that it is not very confusing for someone to look at it and read it and know what they have in mind. If you just leave it to the road commission, it'll take you a week to figure out what they're saying. So some of you have had the benefit of a letter that I wrote that described, I think, carefully what they presented to us in the last week or so. And until they invited us to make comment about supporting their grant request with the state, we had no involvement. And they didn't give us any involvement. And they didn't invite any involvement. And I think that, as it's been indicated by other speakers, that's wrong. It has been wrong. But a large organization like that can get away with that for a long time. And I think they've simply turned a corner with you folks today and this board. And in my communication trying to explain what it was that they were proposing in detail, I ended it by simply saying the township board should not give support to their roundabout road and their new road and the route, given the poor example that we have to work with that tells us that it's going to go adjacent to the lot lines at the rear of Huron Woods subdivision. And I hope that my fellow board members look at that and say, we need to extract from the road commission more detail and, if possible, some commitment that they will not locate it near the western boundary of Huron Woods. That's what we've done. And I suspect that that'll have some impact with the board. But we'll wait and see.
Hey, Ernie?
Follow up a little bit, Art. You talk about the development out there on cost of the township on water, sewer, roads and that. That's the one thing I brought up right away, is that it's not gonna cost us, the township, anything. If they wanna put it in, it's gonna be their total cost, all the way through. And that's part of the developer's cost and that. We lay that out ahead of time, it's all taken care of in that. As far as Marquette County Road Commission, everything we got up to this point in time, it seemed positive, because we have not a lot of information, but everything looked good in that. So we moved forward with what we had. I think the biggest thing is that we now have our residents coming in and bringing up questions that personally I have never thought of and never knew about. And that this is what the transparency is, trying to get the word out to let people come in and talk to us and that. And then the bad part of it, we have to make a decision for the township and into the future, what is best for the township. And sometimes I sit here and I have to make a decision that I don't like, but I'm looking for way down the road. But I want to make sure I have all the data in front of me when I make that decision, so I can at least defend myself overall. There's a lot of questions I brought up tonight that I have in my mind that I have a difficult time of moving forward with this at this point in time. I think we have to have the road commission come up with some more information for us in that too. And that's the direction I'm going at this point in time. So.
We haven't really seen, the board hasn't had any connection with Longyear, their proposal. The board hasn't talked to them, staff has. they've seen sketches or whatever, some kind of preliminary.
Preliminary, pre-application drawings. The PUD process has a lot more steps in it than a typical site plan. But it's also gonna have more opportunity for public input too, so
Yeah.
that's probably good for those of the folks in the room.
And staff, the planning commission hasn't seen that either, so.
Correct. We expect they'll see it by the end of this month for sure.
So the recommended motion here is to support or not the proposed Forestville Connector Road. Is this the proposal that the road commission is giving to us tonight to support or not?
The road commission has requested funding from the state for this project based on what was in our transportation master plan, as Mr. Swadley laid out earlier, okay? I didn't see this proposal until they brought it to us, and I didn't know it was in our master plan because I haven't seen the whole master plan yet. And maybe that's a shame on me for not having read that cover to cover in the last 2 years. We know the history of how it came about, and maybe it didn't look exactly like this, but they had something to run with because it was already in a plan. That's how government works, right? You put a plan together, and then when it's appropriate, you act on the plan. That's not to say it's in the best interest of anyone sitting in our audience tonight. My recommendation is, if there's a way we can do it, get all 7 of your sets of eyes on the area we're talking about back there, because I think we're primarily talking about the north-south piece that runs west of Huron Woods and to the south until it turns east. That's primarily it, because that is what has the most impact on the folks in this room. The rest of it is either on Longyear's property, Up Sky property, or one other private owner in the vicinity of the roundabout. That's my opinion. I don't know if it's feasible to make that happen beyond going through some of the yards of the folks here in Huron Woods, because that north-south corridor, I think, is pretty loose sand. I certainly wouldn't expect any of you to walk through there because it's not the ideal place to be walking, and I don't know that we have adequate vehicles.
We'll meet you there.
Walk up anytime.
We'll let you go through ours too.
Yeah, you can go through mine.
And trust me, 4-wheel drives and 4x4s are back there nonstop.
Every day.
If you got a 4-wheel drive vehicle, you can get through there.
Well,
There all the
it's
time.
not something that I'm going to advise the township board do without the authorization of the property owner.
Trespassers? Nonstop.
Go on, they go from,
Dog walkers.
We can get you access if you want to get eyes on it. The bigger issue is I think the county road commission really has to demonstrate the need to you. And there's a lot more, as Mr. Mark said, I believe there's a lot more perhaps going on with this. And I just kind of resent that they haven't been very transparent or forthcoming. The last minute they want you to include a letter in their grant application packet to the state that the township board blessed it, and we haven't really gone through much due process of your residents that are impacted.
This might be a good item to talk about once the planning commission has seen the PUD and the conversation on the 425 happens, and we know if something's gonna happen with the Sky property. I just think this is pretty, if the question is, do we support that picture right there, I don't know that we can do that. If that specific thing is in our master plan, and I don't think it is, because it doesn't have a roundabout, then while the board, maybe not even this one, has adopted the master plan, we don't need to do it again. You know what I mean?
Okay, so-
Do we need to reaffirm what?
I think the
we've
road
done
commission
or-
kind of needs to know where the township board stands. Why would they continue chasing funding to the tune of $10 million if it's a project the township is not going to support?
But is
They don't
this-
want to, I don't think they want to fight us on this.
This is it? There's no, I mean, I've heard other options. We've talked about other
Okay,
options.
so you're getting into minutia now. I
No, but I s-
can't give you final design until there's a final design.
I don't mean that.
This is the concept that they presented,
So this is
based
what
on
they
what's in
want.
our master plan. So it might not have a roundabout in it, but I'm thinking they recognize the fact that having an intersection that includes a roundabout to keep traffic flowing as smoothly as possible makes sense. I still contend my personal option is to see a roundabout at the existing intersection, but I'm told it won't work there.
Not necessarily to buy Overstar's corner lot there and realign that whole thing.
Go ahead, Linda.
So what I'm hearing amongst all of us is we're not ready to make this decision. So either we postpone this decision until we get more information from the road commission or the planning commission or someone, but I'm not ready to say yes to this.
I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm sorry, go ahead, Pete.
Yeah, go ahead, it's Lyle.
After listening to Lynn, and I've known him for a couple of years, you don't do anything without thinking it through. He's put up some nice thing, subdivisions and that, and you don't do it lightly. Right now, it smells a little bit. All right?
It would smell a lot more if I didn't bring it to you and we just charged forward.
Yes, it would have. But right now, I'd say we're not gonna agree to it. And, but I'm surprised you didn't answer some of, or research some of the questions that Lynn brought out. You know, when you do these, I know he looks at all aspects
I
of
need to
it,
object
so-
to that, Pete.
Why?
They've researched them. The answers aren't what we wanted to hear.
Not necessarily, sorry, they have not, they haven't put out that request for
But then
proposal.
I think they need to tell us that.
Why didn't they put this out, like their plan? This is for an extensive study. They're not being very transparent.
The board
They have not
hasn't
had
seen
comprehensive engineering studies on it. Inside their own offices, they've looked at it, but they were prepared to send an RFP out to engineering firms and give them a year. It said it was due in June of '23. A year, this is back in June, and they didn't do it.
So if we take no action, it just sits, right? So if
Well-
no one makes a motion,
That's true.
it goes
That is-
nowhere.
And it could be a motion and it could fail too, so.
Correct, so,
So the motion could be not to move forward, or not to accept it, or not, yeah, not to support it.
Mm-hmm.
If I may
not making a motion,
give my
I said let it
opinion on
die.
that.
Go ahead.
I think your eyes have been opened to the other side of the story, correct? Because we know there's always more than one side, which has caused you to proceed with caution, and you should. Don't take action tonight. When it's an appropriate time, we will revisit the subject. But we need to make sure they know when it's gonna be revisited. And we have to make sure that we have an easy way to communicate with them without knocking on each and every door. So, I'm not sure exactly how it'll work. I know how it worked this time. I talked to, again, Dr. McBride, and they're all here. So word of mouth is probably the best solution, but we can try to do better to inform all of you. And I know you don't all live in Huron Woods either. There's at least two of you, if not more, so.
Dan, go ahead.
1 second, Lynn. First of all, I wanted to thank everybody for coming and opening our eyes to this. It's been my opinion that, you know, they're trying to do something behind our backs a little bit, and they're not allowing us to get the information that we really need to make an informed decision. So like Linda, I can't support moving forward with this right now, and we just need to sit on it for a while until we got more information, and invite you people to make sure you come when we can hopefully get them, the road commission people here, to answer these questions.
I was just gonna suggest that you have Jim Iwaniki come to your meeting. Jim's a good guy, he'll tell you everything he knows, I'm sure. But let's have an open discourse here in the spirit of transparency, you know, and have Jim explain and maybe the bigger picture and hear from residents. You know, I'm sure he would like to hear that, but give him the opportunity. You guys got that kind of power.
Ernie?
I think, listening to everything and then going back to when this all began, it all began with the PUD development and the number of homes are there and the road that consists right now would not handle it. So they were looking at an alternative at that point in time, and this is the alternative. rather than coming up the current road and doing something at the intersection of that, they moved it off two-way. And it all had to do with, with the projected development. As was stated, the development could take years to get there, and that, there's no question about that. But they're trying to play ahead of the game at the same time. But this is what kind of precipitated the movement of the plan. And I think it's great that everyone's here, because now all of a sudden we got a lot more information now that we never had before. And that we had one side and it sounded good, looked good, we're gonna go forward. Now, all of a sudden other things start coming up. Now we have to look at it in a different light.
Those smells.
Okay. Anything else? And we'll move on to the next agenda item.
So it'll just be no action. then.
Yep.
No action.
It'll just sit as
Nobody will
is.
make a motion.
And,
I just ask that everyone remind me that we have an obligation to all these folks here. We don't have all the contact info, but we're just gonna have to try our best to let them know when this comes back up again.
Well, all you need is
There.
one person, and they
I
can.
think we got that one person right there with Mr. Swadley.
There you go.
I just nominated you, Lynn.
It's the ladies that really get. Thank you for doing nothing. That's, today, it's a good start.
I think they're looking for some kind of input from us. I think what we need to do is contact them and say, this is what happened, this is where we stand at this point in time. And that, and
Raise a lot
the
of
more
issues.
information we get, the better off we are and more we can move forward. But right now, with the information we have, everything's kind of just stopped.
If we had an actual proposal, if we had a road commissioner here, or Wanacke or somebody, come in and actually make a proposal with a good map and closer, and say what they're gonna do with easements, what they're gonna do with ATC's northern intersection, what they're gonna do about a roundabout, that would be different. In my mind, we don't have anything to consider here. If this is a reinforcement, like I said, of our master plan, we don't need to do that again. Just because we had that, if we did have that on the master plan map, I mean, it doesn't, there's nothing here as far as I can, I don't see anything to support.
Tell them this isn't gonna fly. Pure and simple.
Okay, move on?
Move on.
Thanks, folks.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
your.
We appreciate
you all.
you coming in.
Thanks for coming.
Okay, next up is consider moving the township board meetings to the first and third Wednesdays in 2023.
we'll just hold up for a
Yeah, that's
second.
fine.
They might wanna hear this. If we talk about it next year, it'll be on a Wednesday.
They know when to
I'll
come.
be hearing it.
May or may not.
The planning commission has this many people.
Person that thinks, but I get sick of it.
Okay, Lynn, so I suggested this to the supervisor, just talking, I just wanted to poll the township board because there's some benefits for me and us, because we don't conflict with any elections, which I know we can change the meetings, but we do not conflict with the County Township Association, because I checked with Jim Nankervis today. They meet the last Wednesday of the month, and we would not conflict with any planning commission meetings because they're the first or second and fourth. So some months when we have a Tuesday and a Wednesday, if that Wednesday is a second and then it's the second of we could have a back-to-back meeting with the township board and the planning commission, which is hard for staff at times to deal with that. It would give the staff more time in the office, so that your packet day would be moved back to a Friday instead of a Thursday. So it's just, I'm just polling the board. There's no recommended motion needed at this time, but when I do make up the meeting schedule in a few months, I would like to know if we would like to try Wednesday meetings or not.
Well, there's a couple more benefits too. We have Monday holidays. We know that the staff can be off on Mondays if the holiday falls on a Sunday. So that means, you know, trying to get everything ready for the meeting the next day. We also have a benefit of getting to other Tuesday night meetings, like the county board. I would love to go to a county board meeting. I've never been, because it's the same
You
night as
didn't miss
ours.
anything.
I don't know. That's still good information though, too.
But it's for Randy, it's all right. We can do it. I'm all for that.
So there's a lot of good reasons. I thought it was great of Randy to bring this
Yeah,
up.
I for one have no objection to changing the meeting dates, and I think if you poll the board, you'd be able to get ahead with it.
It'd be the same time, 6:30 on a Wednesday. I just want to make sure that moving forward, if that's okay, I'll put that on our meeting schedule, because I'll make that up in December, and then we approve it that last meeting of the year for the next year. And then there shouldn't be any changes, because, well, I'm not technically supposed to have an election next year, but you never know. It seems every year I'm not supposed to have one. I do. So
I think it's a great idea.
anyway, I mean, we could try it for a year. If it's not working, we can always go back to Tuesdays. It's not like it's a, you know,
We said that when we went from 7 to 6:30 too.
yeah, and I think 6:30s work pretty well for us, so. So let me, Paul, Dan's Wednesday meetings.
Wednesday would be fine. I really don't have much going on a Tuesday or a Wednesday or a Thursday, not even a Friday, so for me, it doesn't matter.
Okay, John? John?
No problem.
Ernie?
I have really no problem either way in that, too. so.
Okay, Lynn?
I like it.
Peter?
Yep, I'm for it.
I think it'll be okay.
Peter won't be here.
Well, he gets
She
the
just
vote.
won't
Still gets to
come.
vote.
He gets the vote.
I have to watch it though.
Yeah, that's
We're gonna go back to the Lions
but
meeting.
you're gonna bail on us.
Attorney Zappa, is Wednesdays a problem for you?
I would not be able to attend most Wednesdays, but that's, I don't know how critical that is into the equation.
Well, it's critical.
I don't know. You've been.
Well, is there someone else from your office that could if we needed someone?
There could be.
Okay, so we're not gonna be without legal coverage if we do need
Can
some.
we check on that to make sure before we really move forward?
Well, yeah, I would not do this until December, so. And then the manager Kangas, how about you?
Wednesdays actually work better for me in the
Oh,
fall.
let's not do it.
Here would be my advice if legal representation is your biggest concern. We need to do our homework before the meeting if we anticipate needing his involvement, because he can do a lot of it ahead of time.
Well, that was the other thing I wrote down that I forgot, is that it does give legal one more business day to help or react or give
It
responses.
won't cover every situation.
Right.
But if we're not sure and we need legal advice before acting, then we're just gonna have to wait 2 weeks.
But even then, like I say, if the office is closed on a Monday, and the board meeting's Tuesday, Roger can't help much, you know. So if we have one more day and he said, okay, I can get it to you Tuesday before your Wednesday meeting.
But I mean, you have other staff though, right, Roger, that could attend if we needed?
That is good.
Yes.
Okay, so
I just don't know what their schedule is on Wednesdays either.
okay, well, we can check and see.
Sure.
Does that mean you would not do Wednesdays at all, or you would occasionally?
About at least half the time I would be unable to on
Okay.
Wednesdays.
So like every other meeting, maybe, or it wouldn't be that? I'm not trying to pin you down, I'm just wondering what we'll lose.
Yeah, there are, I have 2 different things on Wednesdays.
Okay.
Currently that are not likely to change.
Okay.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, I don't know, like I said, would it be harmful to have someone else in case when you do retire someday that we have someone else involved?
No, not at all, and I have someone in my office that would potentially be available. I would just need to check with him to
Okay.
see what he's doing on
Because that might be
Wednesdays.
easy, you know, that could be easier for your firm too, you know, if, someday when you do retire, there's someone to kind of take over, at least for us, so.
I would not advise holding regular meetings without at least periodic legal counsel present,
Correct.
because I think it's very important. the idea of begging for forgiveness later makes his job harder,
Yeah.
right? So,
And like, my predecessor always said, and I agree with 100%, we don't know what we don't know. And I've always told Roger, you know, if one of us misspeaks, you stop it, tell me, you know, stop the meeting or put your hand up or something, because it's very important to know
Yeah.
what we don't know.
And we can also work with you. If we know you can't make the first meeting or the third meeting of the month, we can always try to schedule those items where we think you're needed to that agenda also.
Yeah, I agree. We're not gonna have an outhouse, but we can't be without an attorney.
Wow.
Let's go on.
All right.
I better be careful.
Okay,
what we say
so,
here.
so on the agenda item, I'll have consensus to move forward to schedule the meetings on the first and third Wednesdays in 2023 at 6:30.
We can talk about it again.
And we
in
will-
November.
We will have the opportunity to comment again on it when I do make the meeting schedule in December.
Okay. Well, I think in the meantime, if Roger just checks with the office, make sure everything can be worked through.
We have coverage, yeah.
I can do that tomorrow.
Okay.
I need a legal pad.
All right, next up was the addition of considering the fire department hire recommendation. The chief asked me if this was a problem to add, only because this candidate is anxious to get going. There's no penalty or no benefit if we don't do this tonight, but I said I would go ahead and put it on the agenda and see. It is a recommendation for Hayden Jackson to be paid on call. What's the term I'm looking for?
Firefighter.
Yeah, it's not a firefighter, though. He's
Probationary.
probationary, thank you. That's the word I was looking for.
I mean, he interned with the city last year, I believe.
And I just talked to the
young.
chief, you know, like half an hour before the meeting. So he said, you know, if the board isn't comfortable with this, we can do it, because they weren't gonna be here. And I said, well, we do the recommendations anyway, and the people aren't always here. It's not required, you know, but it is required that the chief,
The board has,
pass the
yeah.
recommendations through the board.
So you have an application there? So does he have any credentials?
Yes, I
So,
was gonna
yeah.
kind of read through this.
Good, okay, thank you.
Everything is, you know, he's authorized to work in the United States and everything, and he hasn't filled out an application. So, this would be full-time. Firefighter 1 and 2 certifications he has, hazmat operator certificate, and he was a former intern at the Marquette City Fire Department. He was there about 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, shadowing firefighters up until this May. It was the internship during the school year. Marquette County Fire Academy, 5 months, hazmat ops certificate, firefighter 1 and 2.
So I have to say congrats to the city for supporting their intern to complete those courses. Hopefully,
And his-
hopefully we can do that.
I think he told me, I think Dan told me his dad worked with the city.
Matt Jackson.
Is this on call?
It's yeah, just like everyone else.
Yeah, it's not,
Sorry.
I said full-time, but that's what he chose, and he just means.
He's on
like,
call,
yeah,
fire department.
Full-time on
He's a
call.
good kid.
Yeah,
Not a full-time.
I would,
Comes from good stock.
did you want to make a motion?
well, it's Lynn's
Oh, you
recommendation.
just,
My
yeah,
recommendation, yeah.
I would support that.
Okay. Any
So-
other questions, or?
So Lynn will be, so you actually made the motion, Linda is supporting.
Mm-hmm.
Hire what,
Hayden,
Hayden.
Hayden Jackson?
Hayden, H.
Yeah, Hayden Jackson as a probationary firefighter for
Yes.
Marquette Township, yeah.
Stayed on call. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank
Very
you.
close to the station also.
That's
Oh,
even
yeah,
better.
North Vandenboom.
Yep.
So So just as a comment, I can tell you 20 years ago, 20 years, maybe more than 20 years ago, we hired 18-year-olds to go into our fire department, and some of them are still there. So I don't know how we get that to happen more often, but maybe doing internships is the answer. And we do have an intern coming this year. But, you know, those are the young people who are vested in their community. And so if you know someone, encourage them.
This is definitely what we need to start doing.
You gotta turn it.
Getting some of these young male and female guys, girls, to step forward.
Yeah, so,
The rest of us are getting too damn old.
yeah, so 20 years ago, there are some people that traveled through our program, and they're still there.
It looks like Janelle recommended him, or referred him, rather.
He is a good person.
Good too, staff is aware.
As opposed to,
You.
Okay. Planning Commission update.
So I was not at the last planning commission meeting. I was at a conference in Detroit. And it does look like they discussed the medical marijuana processor, land use. And they also did some marijuana grower discussion. And then they also re-looked at a proposed short-term rental to be located at property at 2540 County Road 550. John may have some information on that. I think the marijuana stuff has to come to this board. Do you know? Does it?
Do not.
Yeah, yeah, I think it does. So I don't know when it will be on the agenda, but we did hear some comments tonight. I know it was a full house at the planning commission.
Where are these facilities going to be located?
The Old Fish and Wildlife.
The Old Fish and Wildlife.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Did have Karen Anderson, if you remember, she was the previous, I don't know what her title was, principal or
Oh, right,
Superintendent of the
superintendent.
approach me and say, this isn't happening, is it? I said, it kind of looks like that. I didn't give her
They're
a
not
yes or no.
selling, they're growing, so I'm
Not so
not,
much in their backyard.
right.
You know, that's a ways away from, my concern when I heard about it, and I forgot where it was the school. I mean, the school is, obviously it's gotta be far enough away, but that, to me, at the school was closer than the people that were sitting in the audience tonight.
So I do think it has to come to this board, though, but we'll have
Yeah,
to
I can't
ask
speak to
Jason.
that. I'm not familiar enough with
Yeah,
that ordinance.
yeah, we would have to ask
I
Jason.
think, and maybe I should have said to the gentleman who brought up the marijuana building, is that the township voted for this. Not the board, but in the election. It was, what did you say, 56%?
No, it was like 70% approval.
Okay.
Oh, that was David Passola.
But it's a growing facility,
It's not a-
it's
yeah.
not a selling facility, it's a growing facility, and I know that on special use permits, they're gonna have some restrictions put on. So hopefully that smell doesn't get out of that building, you know?
Plus, it's all high fenced.
Yeah,
with
it's
barbed
barbed wire and such, yeah.
The owner said that they're working really hard with the odor control and the HVAC and everything, that's not gonna be an issue, so.
And I think our lawyer recommended that the proposed short-term rental on County Road 550 not be approved, and so I don't know what happened after that. No, we didn't hear anything, right?
I was not at the meeting. I wrote an opinion probably about a month ago now, and I haven't heard anything since.
So we'll have to ask Jason.
I believe there's well, septic, and access issues with that one.
Yep.
Shared driveway. So
Yeah,
until
shared
they
well.
resolve those, it's kind of a dead issue.
This is the one on the way to Eagles Nest, right, on 550?
It's on Lake Superior.
Yeah.
So, thank you. That's
The
it.
other short-term rental was the dual cabins at the back of the store.
Oh, yeah,
Side of the store.
yeah, I'll be excited for those. Again, designed by a Marquette Township resident growing up here in Lebanon.
Okay, Roads Committee, I think you met tonight, did you?
Yeah, we discussed, different things we had about, lighting, road repair. We're waiting for the road soft from the township, from the Marquette County Road Commission to get our ducks in line for that. We talked about intersections that they're being blocked off with trees and brushes. Same old thing about the branches blocking the light. And stuff like that, it's just common. We'd like to get, I wish the Marquette Road Commission would have someone every year go around and check all these things and do that. Just in the Trowbridge Park area, there's so many trees that leaning over power lines. In the township, the Light Power don't do anything. I talked to them one time and said, well, if they do, we'll have to get hold of the Marquette County Road Commission, we'll go up and fix it. But I mean, that's not the answer, people are coming up, I don't know if I should bring it up now, but I give a copy to John about speed control signs. It's an electronic one, it's a battery operated one. In Marquette Nagani Township uses them, and it just flashes how fast you're going. If you're within 1 or 2, it say thank you. If you're going too fast, it says slow down, and it tracks all the different cars that are going by, what time they're doing, what time it's happening, how fast they're going, and that's how they can correct some of their problems. And they go and they check it out, see what the time is. They find out, they send the sheriff department there and they catch them. But it's something that we might want to look out in the future. Right now it's running about almost $6,000 for it, but it'd be a good resource for like Ontario, Fair Avenue, Warner Street, Woodridge, because we get a lot on Woodridge because we're the first road that go down to Wright Street coming out of the city, or if you want to go back into the city, which is the first road there. So, but they are driving a little bit too fast. And, something to think about in the future. All right. I'm not saying that we're going to start it tomorrow, and I give John a copy of it, so if we bring it up again, we can discuss it, and he's not, downloaded with a bunch of stuff or don't know what's going in there. He's going to talk to Gary and see what kind of reaction he gets from him. But Gary, I met with Gary and he talked to him about it. And he's the one that got me the copy of this thing and told me all about it. I went and checked it on the roads where it was. They had it up at Midway Drive because they were having a problem with people speeding up there, and it cut it down. So they caught the people who were speeding. They got tickets, and it made a difference on the Midway Drive. And so next was up on North Road, and then I don't know where it's going to be next week, but I want to find out, and I'll let some of you know and take a look at it. And so it was a good meeting.
Okay. Events, our next event is Christmas.
November 22nd, that'll be the Christmas one. So.
Have your hand up, Bertie, or are you just?
Just thinking. It's hard at times too.
Okay. Well, we lost our public, so much for that. Any announcements anybody's got? Randy usually does, yeah.
Okay, so I have a few announcements. So most of the absentee folks that sent their application in for the August election, that was a dual application. So if you checked both elections, which most of you did, you'll be getting your ballot sometime towards the end of this month. I should be getting my ballots for the November election by probably the 3rd week in September or 4th week, because there's deadlines. They have to be out 45 days in advance, so you can get the overseas people, if you have any, get them a ballot. But and we have new envelopes for return. They're going to be purple, so if John can zoom in on that, they're purple. And that's to avoid confusion with certified mail. Certified mail is green, so they wanted to try to avoid that. And if you notice, and I had to call the rep when I got these, it looks like they're printed upside down. It looks like they're printed upside down. But they're printed that way because when we assemble these, it's easier to stuff the ballot in there. Because then you're not taking the envelope that we send it out in, and this envelope don't go against the same, so it's easier to put this envelope in with the flap like this. So when you do get these, it is supposed to be printed this way. And they used to be printed this way years ago, I was told, before my time here. But so when you get your absentee, just make sure you lick it and get it good so that it's good. But it is supposed to be printed this way. So I hopefully going to get most of the ballots out by, I'm trying to get the first week in October. So that'll give everyone 30 days to look at them and get them back to us. Be careful today. The school just started, and I already saw next to my house a car ran a bus stoplight.
And if the bus driver has it on camera, they get a ticket. So just because the police aren't standing there watching you, the camera is.
Yeah, so today I saw the bus stop and the car just went right on by. And so hopefully that camera is working and can get the perpetrator of the crime. So, but everyone be careful. School started today and the kids are out, and just be cognitive of that. And other than that, I think that's it from my department.
Ernie?
I'll bring up my annual discussion.
Okay, next person?
September 14th is a day that if you don't pay your taxes
Lives
by
in
then,
Italy.
you're going to be penalized. So
Penalized.
penalized, whatever it is, you're gonna pay more money than that. So however you wanna do it, so. But the 14th is it. You can pay it on the 15th, I don't really care. But
Is that this month?
it's this month, yes. You have to dig in your pocket and pay something, so.
So they're due here the 14th,
They're due here by 5 o'clock on the 14th.
4:30.
4:30.
4:30. Whatever it is, you have to pay it by
The end of business. On the
end of
14th.
business day on the 14th here. Otherwise, I'd be more than happy to add the 1% penalty to you.
And then one more item before I'm done here is we did get a grant from the state of Michigan for elections. And part of that money that I used is, it's not a requirement yet, but I believe it's going to be moving forward that we have a camera overseeing the drop box, and we do now. We did before, but we have one outside and inside now. So we have that video footage if anyone wants to see it during the election time to make sure that there's no ballot box stuffing.
Okay. How
Does
long?
that mean you have to keep that for
I was just gonna say,
how
how long?
long?
Well, usually it's normal
It's not required.
protocol to keep it 30 days or whatever days, but we are buying a hard drive recorder that can maybe take it out a few months. And usually, what I might have to do is archive that just in case I get a FOIA, but what the state will guide us on what we need to do with that, but I think, like I said, it's not required yet, but I think it's coming down the pipe. So we are prepared for that.
Just so everyone knows, the township only has one drop box and it's permanently affixed to this building. So it's not something that gets put out on a street corner every election season. It's here. Same place you can pay your bills.
Yeah, and it's marked as such.
Linda, did you have something?
Since we close by 4:30, I'm wondering if any people have an issue, that work till 4:30 to pay their taxes. So we just need to.
They get 2 months ahead of time.
Yeah, but there are always people last minute, we're all last minute on some things, so, if
Drop it
they,
in the box.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's what you're gonna do, right?
Huh?
That's what you're gonna do.
Mhm.
What else? Any other announcements? Okay, Mr. Manager?
I think you've all heard me talk a little bit too much tonight, so I guess I would entertain any questions or discussion regarding my written report.
You did a good job on your report.
I will comment, John. Me, Supervisor Durant, and John, Manager Kangas, attended a presentation by a person that's for archiving social media, and we've decided that so we don't have to retain those records, there will be no commenting on either the YouTube videos or the Facebook post. So by not commenting, there's gonna be no record that we have to retain, so.
That would encourage them hopefully to contact us. That's what we want.
So the issue with the social media archiving is if you get a controversial Facebook post, for instance, and there's a lot of activity on it, people commenting, sometimes, you know, the keyboard warriors lose their cool and say things, and then a lot of other people will do the same thing and react, and then somebody deletes their comment, you've now lost part of your social media history. If that leads to a FOIA request, now you don't have it all. If we just turn off their ability to comment on it, we don't have to worry about maintaining that history because they can't create it in the first place.
Way too expensive to, I think it was it $300 a
It
month
was
just
300.
for the basics?
It was $300 a month just for the basic package, and me, Lynn, and John said, no way, that's way too expensive. We
Have
can
them back
cut
it
the
up.
comments off and not have to spend that money, so.
Any questions for the manager?
Use that money for this speed.
Okay, you want to review our motions?
Yeah, tonight we had the consent agenda was approved. Regular agenda was approved with an amendment to add the firefighter hire. Third motion was to approve the option 2 to vandal-proof the warming house, and that was approved, 6-1. Fourth motion was to hire Hayden Jackson as a probationary firefighter for Marquette Township. And that's it.
Okay. So far, we'll see if we can get Jason here for the next meeting on September 20th to talk about his presentation to the MNRTF board about the property, the, I was gonna say Schwemmwood. What's his name?
Ed Scott.
Ed Scott, yes. He used to be actually a customer of mine when I worked at the Mining Journal. I knew him. Couldn't think of his name. So that's all I have so far. Any other comments from anybody? Good, bad, or indifferent? Good discussion tonight. Looks like we'll probably be on the 11 o'clock news.
Or 10 o'clock.
Yeah, it's 10 now.
Did that letter get sent to the sheriff in regards to officer, that deputy
Yep,
McPhee?
I sent you a copy, and I sent you the signed copy. I emailed it to you. Don't tell me your email doesn't work, because I've offered to help. You got it.
Just open it up and look at it.
It's in the Everson aura somewhere. But yes, it did.
Thank you. Another question. The sheriff did, he's on record saying that he was gonna look into some type of device for the
Noise.
registering the noise on the motorcycles. Did he ever get back to you on that?
No, he did not. We had a deputy here for a while?
Mhm.
That's good.
That's the one that replaced the woman.
This is a follow-up on a comment that Pete made about trees over the power lines. I'm trying to remember the street. It's the one going past the Lions Field.
Jerry.
Cherry, if you go past Cherry and go past Woodland,
Yeah.
and go down there, there's a big,
Right down the corner.
well, I don't know if it's right on the corner, but it's going way out over the road. Everything is, I tell you, if it goes down, it's taking out all the wires. Everything there.
Two power lines.
Yeah, everything there.
Pete's going around, he keeps up on those And there's a lot of trees that do need to be trimmed.
Okay, nothing else?
I'd like to make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll support.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.